what kicks things off in at number 10. Somewhere in South America on Google Maps, there is a crossroad, but there are some things you should know before you decide to cross the street at this busy intersection. Aside from looking both ways, before you cross, you might want to take extra precautions because you might stumble across a dark figure. According to the local legends, if you enter the middle, you will see everything go dark, and then you'll be met face to face with a shadowy figure known as the Crossroad Reaper. Well, here's a picture of the Reaper caught on Google Maps camera. Don't believe he's real? Well, why don't you try crossing the intersection yourself? And then you try to tell me you never saw him.
Number 9, it's a possible kidnap victim escaping from the trunk of a car. This picture is straight up weird, and there's been so much speculating online about what's going on, but there's one thing everyone agrees on: a naked man in this situation is a little bit fishy. I mean, look at him, there's literally no reasonable explanation for this. You don't just end up in these kind of scenarios with like a reasonable excuse. I've got a theory that he's actually the kidnapper and he's sizing up the size of his trunk for his next victim. Or maybe my theories suck. So this video is already making me pretty conspiracy crazy, so let's move right on to number 8, and it's a sex act caught in the street. This one is doing my home country of England proud with a snap from the streets of Manchester that shows this pair doing a little more than a quick kiss in the alleyway. I don't think we need to go into any more details than these two have generously given us. I think actions speak louder than words on this one. In fact, the only thing that's left to discuss is, was this prostitution or was it just indecent exposure? Neither one's actually that good, is it? Alright, a lot of these pictures are used to arrest criminals after they've done the crime, but at number 7 we're skipping all of that with an actual police chase caught on Google Earth. These incredible pictures were taken on the streets of Serbia when police spotted 2 students attempting to rob a jewellery store. You can see the would-be thieves trying to round a corner, but the long arm of the law eventually catches up with them and they are taken away for questioning. Now these guys obviously aren't the sharpest tools in the box. They robbed a jewellery store in broad daylight and didn't think to check if there were police around or the Google car. It's the Google car, guys, it's everywhere. 2 people who also haven't learnt this lesson are the guys who robbed a teenager of his bike, his cell phone and his money in at number 6. Paul Hedina submitted this picture to police after they failed to find enough evidence to prosecute when he was mugged 6 months before. The 14-year-old had his bike dragged from underneath him along with his cell phone and $230. Luckily though, they chose the worst time to do this as the Google car was just rolling on by moments before it all happened. Paul then submitted these pictures to the robbery detective squad who immediately identified them. They identified one of them as a known criminal who was a twin, so the other one wasn't too hard to identify. Yeah, if you're going to be a criminal, don't do it with your twin. We're halfway through now at number 5, and it's a baby being abandoned. This picture was found by John Raffman, who had an art installation in New York of all kinds of weird things found on Google Maps, and this was one of the most disturbing. We can see what appears to be an abandoned baby crawling outside of an empty Gucci store. I'm hoping there's a good explanation for this. Maybe there's a parent just waiting behind that pillar. I don't know, I'm just trying to help them out here because this one looks pretty hard to defend. So far we've covered people who are being caught about to become criminals, becoming criminals, but at number 4 we've got someone who is already a criminal as they're seen on Google Earth escaping from prison. These images appear to show a man in a convict's orange jumpsuit on the run on a road in South Africa. There seems to be nobody around and no reason to be running unless he wants to be getting away from whatever's behind him in a bit of a hurry. Now although a lot of people jumped on this right away and said, well, it's obviously an escaped convict, some people said maybe it's just a normal worker and this is his work clothes, just like a normal orange jumpsuit. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let me know what you guys think though. This one is definitely, bit up for debate, bit iffy, so let me know in the comments below. As that debate rages on, let's move on to something a little bit more concrete, and it's someone pointing a gun at the Google car at number 3. Okay guys, so this one is crazy. Our lovable little Google car was just minding its own business on a street in Detroit when a group of men on a porch started pointing their guns at it as it drove past. Why? What did the Google car ever do to you? Well, it turns out this is probably a pretty normal thing for this family to do. A few months before this picture was taken, a 1-year-old girl's body was found in a closet after the parents claimed it was an accidental death. So it seemed to me like pointing a gun at the Google car might actually be one of the lesser crimes going on in this house. Drugs! If you were wondering where all the drugs were on this list, then don't worry, because our number 2 is a real drug deal caught on Google Earth. These guys were selling drugs on the corner of a street in New York when the Google car snapped them at their favourite spot to peddle their gear. The men were then arrested in a big sting operation by police not too long afterwards, and we've only got the Google car to thank for that. Although I hope Google gave the police the unpixelated version, otherwise we might have got the wrong guys. We've covered all kinds of crimes the Google car has witnessed, but our number 1 is the most shocking of all. What kind of evil criminal did it catch, I hear you ask? The worst kind of criminal of them all. The Google car caught itself in the act. At number 1, it's the Google car running over a donkey. The internet was in uproar back in 2013 when images from Google Earth appeared to show the Google car running over a donkey in Botswana. There wasn't just one picture either, oh no, we were given multiple snaps of this whole thing going down. We got the donkey minding its own business in the road, and then BAM! Next thing you know, it's lying in the dust as the Google car just drives away. How could you be so cruel, Google car? You were supposed to stop the criminals, not join them. That was an alternate version of the Star Wars scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin, featuring me, the Google car, and a dead donkey. I don't know either.
Starting off this countdown, we have Costa Concordia. On January 13th of 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia sadly crashed into underwater rocks. This resulted in the ship capsizing and sinking. Sadly, 32 passengers lost their lives in this tragedy, and Google Earth caught it on camera. It has photos of the ship laying on its side, which is a dark reminder of this tragedy. The captain of the ship ended up being charged with multiple counts of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison as people argued that he delayed the evacuation of the ship, and then he fled the ship and left the crew and passengers to fend for themselves.
Up next, number 9, we have the creepy Scientology base. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a ton of controversy over the years. From its treatment of its members to its highly secretive practices, a lot of people are actually scared of this religion. For people that aren't members, it's actually pretty hard to know what exactly is going on inside of their buildings. One of their churches, called Trementina, is one of the properties owned by Scientology that can be seen on Google Maps over in New Mexico. Well, take a look for yourselves. You guys are looking at it right now. Okay, what the heck is happening inside of this building? They say that they use it to preserve books and movies, but honestly, who knows? They could be performing satanic rituals for all we know. Nuclear testing facility makes its way onto this list at number 8. Here we have a picture of a Google satellite image of a nuclear testing facility located in Nevada. So yeah, probably pretty close to Area 51. I think the reason why you should never visit this location is it's highly obvious. It's definitely not open to the public, and I'm not sure why you would want to even attempt to step foot near this location, and that's because it is full of so much radiation. Mushroom clouds can be seen up to 100 miles away in the distance, so this actually caused a lot more tourists wanting to visit Las Vegas. My idea of a good time does not involve slot machines and clouds of nuclear radiation, but that's just my opinion. It's actually really scary to think about it, that the fact that we are testing deadly nuclear weapons. Helltown in New Baltimore brings us to number 7. A Google Street View car managed to capture this image on their camera. Could this just be an equipment glitch, or could something more sinister be going on in this small town? Apparently people in this area are saying that there is a portal to hell in the area. Residents of New Baltimore have been reported that their little town has been taken over by evil demonic entities, so of course Google sent out a car to get, better pictures, more updated pictures, more accurate pictures. How about you bring them a couple of priests and it's time to bless the area. Next up, number 6, we have China's Area 51. What you're looking at right now could actually be China's version of Area 51. Is this real life right now? These strange white lines were discovered on Google Maps in the middle of China's Gobi Desert, and this image struck so many conversations online about what it could be. Most people believe that it's a calibration pattern for spy satellites, but then there are others that say that these lines prove aliens exist. These lines are located near the headquarters of China's space program. But unfortunately, we may never know the truth about what is really going on here. A very haunted bridge brings us to number 5. This is Booger Holler Bridge, and if you value your life, well, you'll never want to set foot or attempt to cross it, and that's because it is known to be extremely haunted. Legend has it that a father and son drowned while trying to cross the low bridge on a horse and buggy many years ago. And then there's another story about a woman and her child drowning when their car stalled on the bridge and the car was thrown into the river due to the strong current. People have even said that they can hear screams from the bridge, and people do satanic practices on it for some reason. So needless to say, the Google Street View car got close to the bridge, but they didn't dare cross it. Number 4, we have a creepy doll village. If you don't like looking at scary life-sized human dolls, then you'll never want to visit a small village in Nagoro, Japan. But in case you're curious, well, here's a taste of what you'll find there. Well, I told you that these dolls were creepy, but that's not all. Apparently an old lady will make a new doll every time someone in the village dies. So the amount of dolls outnumber the amount of people actually living in the village by about 10 to 1. I mean, could you imagine walking around at night and seeing all of these creepy dolls just staring at you? Couldn't they just be placed inside of an art gallery or something? This whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. So you know what, let's get the heck away from it and let's move on. Let's see what we have next. Scary underwater pyramids is up next at number 3. Well, this is an image taken from Google Maps that shows us that some creepy underwater pyramids might be lurking at the bottom of the ocean over in the Bahamas. This image sparked a lot of controversies when people said that these underwater pyramids could prove that aliens might be living among us. More reasonable people believe that these pyramids could have been made by an ancient civilization. But they also admit that we still can't rule out the existence of alien life forms, just yet. A nuclear fallout zone steps onto this list at number 2. Pripyat, Ukraine, has a bad reputation of being the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history. It's literally a ghost town with abandoned buildings that will probably never be lived in for a very long time. But the creepiest part of this town has to be this picture right here. Well, take a look for yourselves. It's literally a room full of old gas masks that were left behind. I don't know what's scarier, the amount of gas masks or the fact that there were child-sized gas masks left inside of an abandoned school. And topping this list, and at number 1, we have one of the most dangerous cities on Earth. This right here is El Bronx, Colombia. And even though the city is completely demolished now, it was once known as the most dangerous city on Earth. This was a neighborhood that was known for child prostitution and murder. Put it this way, if you found yourself walking the streets of this neighborhood, something awful would probably happen to you. Some of these buildings also had a lot of rotting murder victims inside, and gangs used to capture and feed rival gang members to starving dogs just to send the other gang a message.
Right, because number 10 is a dead body being thrown into a lake. We're zooming in on the Netherlands to Park Wettering in Almere to what looks like a normal lake. On closer inspection though, we can see a wooden pier with what appears to be a gruesome murder scene. When this picture first hit the net, everyone was freaking out because it looks like a murderer standing over a dead body with a gruesome blood trail leading back to the woods. Now ordinarily this would be a lot higher up the list, but its authenticity has been disputed. Some people are saying it's just a wet dog drying off on the pier and the supposed blood trail is nothing more than just water. I don't know though guys, that sounds exactly like something a murderer would want us to think. Moving on to our crime at number...
In our 9th spot, we have the disappearance. On November 7th of 1997, 40-year-old William Molt was reported missing after going out one night and never returning home. Sadly, the police had no leads as to where William could be or what happened to him. The case went cold for 20 years. That's when Google Earth found William. Basically, a housing development manager was using Google Earth to check out some properties when he saw something strange in a pond near the homes. Turns out this weird thing was William's car. The police ended up dragging the pond and retrieved his car. William's body was found in there as well. The only mystery that remains is how William ended up driving into the pond in the first place. In our 8th spot, we have the secret bunker. Hidden in the New Mexico desert is a secret bunker surrounded by strange symbols. These symbols were thought to be done by the works of aliens. Anyways, the bunker is located close to these symbols, and it's said to be the alien space cathedral of the Church of Scientology. Scientology. Former Scientologist Ron Hubbard says that the symbols mark a return point for reincarnation. The bunker even has its own private airstrip for the church's leaders. In 2005, it was confirmed that this bunker does indeed exist. This bunker is said to be the place where members can travel to in the future from other places in the universe. Moving on to number 7, we have the Blood Red Lake. Just outside of Sadr City in Iraq, there is a lake that is completely red, hence why it was given the name Blood Red Lake. The reason as to why it's red remains a mystery, but of course we have some theories. One is that pollution or sewage caused it to turn red. Another is that it's a result of the water treatment process. Whereas others believe that the lake is red from blood running into it from a slaughterhouse. To this day, no one has offered an official explanation as to why this river looks like blood. In our 6th spot today, we have the oil refinery. The Hungarian oil refinery Százhalombatta is so private that they wanted Google Earth to block them out. But instead of blurring it or barring it with a black box, they asked Google to have it colored green, and no one knows why. Now it just looks like a weird football field. A lot of people are wondering what they're trying to protect or hide from us. Hopefully they aren't trying to hide some illegal or shady activity that they're into. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the French nuclear facility. La Hague is a nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France that opened in 1976. It is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. But here's the thing. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down. They have been dumping 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day into the ocean. That is extremely toxic for the environment. What's even more messed up is that the site wasn't always blurred out. But when people heard about the whole Greenpeace controversy, they had Google Earth blur out their location. This has led people to believe that they are still dumping this radioactive waste into the ocean. They just don't want people to see what they're doing. In our 4th spot, we have the prisons. Now, there are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in France or the Almira Correctional Facility. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. The main one being so that criminals don't figure out the layout of these prisons. They are afraid that they will use this information to plan an escape. In fact, this actually happened a couple of times. Following a successful jailbreak at the Beaumet prison, France's Prime Minister of Justice was like, it's because they knew the layout of the building. So this resulted in the prison being blurred, along with a number of other prisons. In our 3rd spot, we have the invisible jet. Just last year, a Google Earth user discovered something that sent the internet into a frenzy. The user claimed to have found an invisible US Air Force plane hiding in plain sight. Pun intended. Check it out. Crazy, isn't it? Now, this was spotted at an Air Force base in Texas. Either this plane is invisible or semi-invisible because we can still see it, or Google Maps blurred it out to try and keep it a secret. Others say that it's just a glitch, or that it's Wonder Woman's plane, or that it's just a B-1 bomber with heat haze coming off of it. But I don't know, a lot of conspiracy theorists think otherwise. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our 2nd spot, we have the giant sea monster. We really don't know what's going on in our ocean. Like, over 80% of it remains unexplored, and with all the nuclear waste that's going in it, who knows what kind of beasts lurk out there? Well, one of them might have been caught on camera. This image is what appears to be a massive sea beast. We don't know for sure what exactly it is, but it was spotted off the coast of Antarctica's Deception Island. That's right, the island is called Deception Island. It's kind of eerie. Anyways, theories range from this thing being an underwater UFO to the Kraken, even the Loch Ness Monster, which, if it's Nessie, then what is it doing all the way over there? Anyways, I will say it looks an awful lot like a giant squid. who's trying to make a trip over there to figure it out in person. Maybe we can catch this beast. I'm just kidding. No thank you. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the escaped killer. As you know from part 1 of this video series, Google Earth is a snitch. You gotta watch out because an escaped killer who was on the run for nearly 20 years was caught, all thanks to Google Earth. The man's name is Gioacchino Gamino, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he is a convicted murderer, mafia member, and one of Italy's most wanted gangsters. He had been sentenced to life in prison for a murder he committed in 1998. In 2002, he managed to escape prison. He then went on to live in Spain under a fake alias. Now, let me explain how he got caught. So basically, someone tipped off authorities saying that he was living there and that he owned a restaurant. So they looked it up on Google Earth, and although his face was blurred, they saw him outside his restaurant. They ended up tracking him down and he was arrested on December 17th of 2021, so fairly recently.